block.
Okay, good. So you have the block. Okay, so start at the front of your area. Hips, feet hip widths apart. Hips width, feet widths apart.
Feet hip width.
Okay. Now, pressing your feet into the floor, take the time to lift your toes and spread them. Really feeling the grounding of your feet. Pressing those feet into the floor, slight bend in your thighs just to keep that engagement. Lifting up and out of your ribs, lifting up out of your spine, looking between your palms. Lengthen from your feet all the way up to the crown of your head, to the tips of your fingers. Lengthen. Feel the spine have space in between each vertebrae. Breathe into that space, and now as you exhale, slightly bend forward, coming halfway. And now if you need a block, this is where you would use it. If you don't, bring your palms to the floor and lift your spine out of your pelvis. And now, if you can, go forward, deeper if you don't have a block. And lengthen your neck to the floor, the crown of your head. So you feel the spine lengthen out of your pelvis. Keeping the slight bend in your thighs, even here, in your knees. And now inhale. Looking up, walking your palms forward again. Press your palms onto the floor. Bend your legs. And now step back into downward facing dog. Keeping a bend in your knees for this first one. I really want you to focus on your hands here. So I want you to pretend like you're holding a basketball. You're gripping the floor so tight with your palms to keep from dumping into the wrists. So now working your shoulder blades onto your back so much so you can feel them actually sitting on your back. And now you're pressing those palms and your arms are strong and firm. You feel the strength in your arms. And now lift your hips and you feel your butt bones pressing towards the ceiling to really lift those hips high. Inhale, and as you exhale, just take a slight bit of the bend out of your legs to straighten and lengthen your heels towards the floor a little bit, but not hyperextending your legs here. You're so engaged you can't hyperextend. And then make sure that your ears are next to your biceps. And work your shoulder blades back onto your back body. Good. And now we're going to come forward into plank. And now go ahead and bring your knees to the floor for this first one. Rolling your shoulder blades onto your back body. Lengthening your feet onto the floor. And now we're going to go into chaturanga. So you're going to bend your elbows slightly. Keep coming down, and you're going to hover with your elbows at 90 degrees, and then lengthen your pelvis to the floor. Come up into Bhujangasana. Pressing the tops of your feet into the floor to keep it out of your lower spine. And press your palms and press your chest forward, using your hands on the floor to lift your chest out of your spine. Looking up, not taking it out of your neck. Do a little neck circle here. Now let's look over our right shoulder, look at your left foot, and get an eye exercise out of it too. Come forward, and now let's look over your left shoulder, look at your left foot. And now let's go back into the center. With an inhalation, press your feet into the floor, and press up into downward facing dog. Now, keeping a slight bend in your knees again, working your shoulder blades on your back body. Lift your pelvis towards the ceiling, lift it high. Really feeling the rotation in your hips. And now slightly straightening your thighs to get that full pose in without hyperextending because you're so engaged you can't. And work your shoulder blades onto your back, feeling that length in your spine. Now look between your hands, coming forward back again into plank. And now let's stay in here for one more breath. And now let's just go down into chaturanga, never pressing your chest to the floor. It should not touch the floor, just bring your pelvis to the floor. And now lift your pelvis up into Bhujangasana. Now let's push back into downward facing dog. And now let's look between our hands and bring our right foot between our palms. That was a heavy step for me. So now let's bring our knee down, our left knee, and press that right foot into the floor. We're going to come into Ujjayi Asana. So you want to come forward a little bit, walk your left knee forward so that you have your knee coming forward more, because you want to get that length in your calf. Very good. Now lift up out of it and put your shoulder blades onto your back by cactusing your arms and working your shoulder blades on your back. And now look up. Let's take 3 full breaths here. And now press your palms back onto the floor. Lift your left leg and come back into downward facing dog. Transitions are very important too, so I'm going very slowly so that you can be mindful of every movement, because that's what you need to do in yoga. Practice mindfulness with every movement, and if you marry the breath with your movement, you are doing a moving meditation. Inhale and step your leg between your hands. And now put your right knee on the floor and make sure that you walk your right knee forward a couple inches to really get that extension in the calf. And this is the only pose where your knee can go beyond the ankle because it is not weight bearing. Okay, so this is a good one because you can really lengthen the calf here. So now lengthen up, cactus arms, 3 full breaths. And with the next breath, place your palms, put your foot on the floor and lift up, and now gently step back into downward facing dog again. See, the mindfulness in the transitions can prevent injuries. Most people get injured during transitions. Take a nice deep inhalation as you work your shoulder blades onto your back body again. Come back into plank. Now let's take 3 full breaths here in plank. On this exhalation, lower yourself slowly. And now bring your pelvis to the floor. And lift your chest up and out. Rolling your shoulders onto your back body. And now with an exhalation, press your feet and lift back into downward facing dog. Now we're going to do a lunge. So look between your hands and step your right foot between your hands and lift up, keeping a nice strong bend in this front thigh. And now we're going to do cactus arms. Inhale imagine you're doing a bit of a back bend by lifting your chest in this pose. And look up. Softening in the jaw. 3 full breaths here, 1 more to go. And press your palms to step back. Looking between your palms. On the next exhalation, bring your foot between your hands. Left foot. And now with an inhalation, lift up out of it into a strong lunge. Using the strong thigh bent at a 90-degree angle. 1 more breath here. Place your palms. Step back. Feeling your shoulder blades on your back body here. Let's do 3 breaths here. more. Now let's step both of our feet between our hands. Feet hip width apart. Lengthen your spine out of your pelvis. Soften in the jaw. Lengthen into a full forward fold if you can. And now let's bring our feet together. And now, using your hands on the floor to keep your legs just as they are, adjusted just like this, only moving the upper body away from the thighs, to lift your arms up into Utkatasana, or fierce pose. This is not a chair. No chair feels like this, right? This pose is fierce. So feel that fierceness in your thighs. 2 more breaths. Work your arms up. Look up. Inhale and stand up. And with an exhalation, bring your arms down. And take a few breaths here. And now, bringing your hands onto your hips. We're going to do a forward fold here. So I want you to feel your hands on your hips because I want you to make sure that you are using your hips to move, not your back. Okay? So you're like one of those office toys that bobs back and forth. And your hips are moving you. Okay? So you're not using your lower back. You're not using your back at all. Your back stays the same. And as soon as your back starts to move, that's when you stop. Okay, now, let's come into forward fold. Or wherever you are. Bring your palms onto the floor. Working your shoulder blades onto your back body. With an inhalation, let's jump or step back into chaturanga if you're jumping, or plank if you are stepping. Inhale. And stay in chaturanga for 1 breath. And lower your pelvis down. Now, use your palms to lengthen your chest out. Look up. Grind your feet into the floor and lift your pelvis. Good. How are you doing?
Good.
You want to keep going?
Sure.
Wonderful. Okay, so let's do some more leg poses. Look between your hands and step your right foot between your palms. And this time we're going to do warrior 2. So you bring your left foot to the floor.
Mm-hmm.
And you do a slight angle with that left foot so that your toes are angled inward towards this corner of the room.
Mm-hmm.
Inward, right? So now we want to really work on our thigh being at a nice 90-degree angle. See how I kind of was a little too wide? Mm-hmm. So you want to make sure that your knee is directly over your ankle.
Mm-hmm.
And now just work your thighs here, feeling the opening of your pelvis. So I'm going to turn around so you can see me.
Mm-hmm.
And now just breathe, inhale, and lengthen your arms as you feel your shoulder blades on your back. And now gaze over your right palm with a soft gaze and a soft neck. And really feeling the depth of the 90-degree angle, going deeper if you can. And then making sure that you're not gripping in your toes, that you're feeling the knife back edge of your left foot into the floor. And with an exhalation, let's bring our palms to the floor and step back into down dog. 3 breaths here. And with the next exhalation, bring your left foot between your hands. And again, I will turn around. And now, with this angle inward of your back foot, come on up. If you want to make sure that you have the right width, you can always just spread your arms. Your hands should be right over your feet. And that's how you can measure yourself. But you want to just make sure that your knee is over your ankle. And again, you feel the opening of the groin here. Softening in the jaw, working the shoulder blades on the back, and gazing over the front hand. With the next exhalation, windmill your arms down to the floor and step back into downward facing dog. Working your shoulder blades on your back body. You can go very slow, and it can be very intense if you engage all of your muscles like I'm trying to get you to do. So you'll feel hot and sweaty without even doing fast exercise. You know, you don't have to move fast to work hard. It's working smart. So let's look between our palms, lift up into plank. Right? This is the best core exercise right here. So let's keep doing this. If you need to stop, just make sure you do at least 1 minute of savasana on your back to settle your nerves. And as an exhalation, come into chaturanga. And bring your pelvis to the floor. Pressing the tops of your feet to lift your chest. And pressing your palms to lift your chest out of your pelvis here. Pressing the tops of your feet to keep it out of your lower back and engage your whole body, feeling that length from the crown of your head all the way to your feet. And with an exhalation, push back down into downward facing dog. Great. Now we're going to do some more leg. So I want to do Trikonasana, which is one of my favorite. So inhale and look between your palms. Step your right hand foot between your hands. For some reason, I want to call my feet hands and my hands feet. So now, without really moving too much, just I keep a slight bend in my thigh as I rotate my torso upward, and then I find grounding or a block under my hand. And I always do it with the hand behind the leg so that you can work that shoulder blade onto the back body. You never have to fully straighten your leg if you don't need to, because I hyperextend, so straighten to me means hyperextend. So I like to just keep a slight bend all the time. It just helps me be engaged. It's not a bad thing. Over straightening can mean hyperextension, which is why I stopped some of my training, because they were yelling at me to straighten to the point of hyperextension. Why? They couldn't tell me why until I went to a different teacher, my teacher Anthony Benonati, who taught me why. So let's come up, and I'm going to turn around so that I'm facing you again, but I'm going to continue, so just don't do anything yet. Okay. And now, while you're here, you can just bring your foot to face forward. This is a very Iyengar way of doing it. And then bring your other foot to face forward with a slight inward rotation of this leg. And now, keeping your hips level so that you're not pushing them either direction, but they're actually grounding. Okay, your hips are grounding down. And now lengthening your arms out, softening in the neck. With an exhalation, just tilt your body out to the side. And I like to bring my hand onto my the front of my calf, because I can kind of lengthen out of my spine this way easier before I go full into the full pose. And if you want to stay here, you can. Just make sure you're not dumping into your leg here. You're not, actually, like, you can actually lift your hand off and feel that core strength. You're not dumping, okay? And then so now work your shoulder blades onto your back body. And if you want to go deeper, you can bring the hand to the floor. As I said before, just make sure you're doing the same thing that you did on the other side. So for you, I would actually use the block, babe.
I was going to say, my block was too far away.
Yeah, I should have said bring it with you. Okay. So one more breath here. And lift up. Bringing your feet parallel. Lengthening out of the side body. And now we're going to bring our body forward, and if you want to grab your block, I don't think you need to.
I don't think I need it.
But if anyone else that might need your block for forward fold, you seem like you can forward fold pretty good. And just feel that you're lengthening your toes. So uncurl your toes if they're curled. And lengthen out of your spine. So you're pressing your palms to lengthen out of your spine. Rolling your shoulder blades onto your back body and looking up. Now, if you can go further into this, you can bring your head to the floor or right above the floor. You actually, like how I'm hovering, that's because I'm fully engaged. But I can do this pose really well. So if you need a little bit more prop, you can keep your hands on the floor while you bring your head to the floor. And just, you want to make sure you're not dumping on your head here either. So that's why I said you want to lift your hips so that you're fully engaged the whole time. You can go into a full headstand if you would like, if you have a headstand practice. If not, just keep on doing what you're doing. And lengthen out. Come out of the handstand if you are in a headstand. Lengthening your spine. And now let's keep a slight bend in both of our legs, and let's go over to our left leg. I like to keep a slight bend because I hyperextend, so it's just a good reminder for me. Keeps me engaged, which is I want to use my muscle. You're here to strengthen. So keep that bend, keep the strength. So if you're good here, you can stay here. If you want to like hold on to your leg and get a good deeper twist, you can. And let's come back to center. Lengthening out of the spine again and walking over to the right leg. Like I said, if you just want to stay here, you can. Or you can go a little deeper. And come back to center. Lengthening out of the spine. And let's press our palms again. And let's walk our feet in. Come up. And let's go to the front of our mats again. So, we're going to do some warm down exercises. So go ahead and come into forward fold. Lengthening the spine. And press your palms. Let's step your left leg back. Bring your left knee to the floor. And you're going to bring your right shin down to the floor. And still using your left knee on the floor to keep you upright and lift up into a strong pigeon that is not a forward fold. So you feel this in your thighs, right?
Mm-hmm. I don't know if I can come up from this though.
Okay, well, go like this then. Bring your leg in more, way more, to where you can. That's why I'm saying that. There you go.
Oh,
That's why I said that. You didn't do the whole thing. There you go. Okay, so do it as much as you need to. It's better than doing anything else. This is hyperextending. You don't, like, unless you're engaged, you don't want to be doing this. I can do this engaged, but that's not, like, this is more strengthening for me.
This is way more strengthening.
Right?
My leg is shaking and like.
Exactly. You want to do this for strength, not just to, well, I don't know what. Like, what for?
Pull your leg
exactly, to pull your hamstring out of the socket. I don't know, to lengthen, like, I just.
That's what it feels
right?
like.
I don't know. So.
I'm gonna pull my hamstring out of the socket.
It doesn't have a socket, but it sounded good.
Pull my hip out of the socket.
Pull your hips. Okay, so put your foot on the floor, and now we're gonna lift our shoulders like lift your chest to press your palms and do a strong transition.
There.
I teach transitions too because it's just as important as all the poses.
Yeah.
So now work your shoulder blades onto your back body, look between your hands, and you're gonna step your left shin parallel with your hands. And then you're gonna step your right knee in until you can sit up in the pose. And this is true pigeon. Pigeon is a back bend. So then you can adjust your knee according to where you are in the practice. Feeling strong in the pose, feeling strong in your thighs, working those thighs. Yeah, feel it?
Yes.
Good. Work your shoulders on your back body and look up. Soften in the jaw. And bring your palms back down. And now you're gonna put your right foot into the floor to be engaged, lifting your chest, and move your left foot back into down dog. Now, bring your knees down, bring your feet together, and push back into child's pose. I want this to be an engaged child pose, so tent your fingers, lifting your chest as you lower down, keeping that lift in your shoulder blades with your tented fingers to work your shoulder blades on your back body. Always working those shoulder blades on your back body, softening in the jaw, resting your ribs on your thighs, allowing anything out of your lower spine to get worked and stretched softly and gently. If you have a hard time going into this pose, you can always put a block under your chin, under your forehead. For anyone who's not mobile enough to do this, you can do any pose with, if you bring the floor to you. If you can't reach the floor, just think of it as you bringing the floor to you with the prop. Because you need that grounding of the floor to lengthen. Okay, walk your hands back. And now we're going to do a couple of back bends before we end this. Okay, so come to basically a tabletop pose. In fact, let's do that Purvottanasana. So just bring your feet parallel in front of you, hands, fingers pointing towards you, working your shoulder blades onto your back body here. This is what I want you to really practice here. Working your shoulder blades on your back body. This is a different plane. This is a different exercise. We haven't worked this plane yet. This is a different level of strength, a different muscle group, okay? So inhale, lift your chest as you lift your pelvis and make your pelvis level with the floor. Working your shoulder blades on your back, feeling them, even if you have to keep a slight bend in your arms to really work those shoulder blades on your back body. Softening in the jaw, lengthening in the neck so that your entire body is like a table. Tabletop pose. Exhale and slowly rest, come back down. And now I want to do this, but a little bit more intense. If you would like to take it up a notch, otherwise just do the same thing I just taught, but widen your palms a little bit. I have big hips, so I need a little more space for this one. Okay, so now grounding your feet again, lifting up out of the pelvis, rolling the shoulder blades onto the back body. Inhaling, and now going back, but don't bring your butt to the floor this time. Just bring it through your arms. And back up. Inhale and exhale, do it again. Strong in the shoulders. If you can't do this, if it hurts at all in your shoulders, don't do it. And come down into forward fold. So just lengthen, feeling the backs of your knees on the floor, not lifting your heels off the floor. That's hyperextending. Lengthening your arms up overhead and coming forward as far as you can without jumping like this. So if you're here, that's fine. If you can come all the way forward, you can. And exhale, come back up. Now we're gonna bend our legs again. And we're gonna come down to the floor. So now I want you to be able to touch the backs of your heels with your hands. Okay? So we're gonna lift our pelvis up into bridge. And if you need a prop for this, if this is too hard for any reason, you can always just get the block and put a block under your pelvis. Let me see the block. Can you throw it to me, please? So I can demonstrate it. Thank you.
Okay.
So you just take the block like this. You put it right underneath your tailbone. And this can be a good warm-up too. For anyone who has any kind of lower back pain. Just leave it here if you need to. Or you can even take it up a notch. Or you can just be engaged and hold it. And feel the strength in your thighs. Now, rolling your shoulders onto your back body by actually walking your shoulders on your back. Now, keeping a bend in your arms, fold your palms together. Fold your fingers together, interlace your fingers, keeping a bend in your elbows. I had someone hyperextend and injure themselves because they didn't do it correctly. So I always say, keep a bend in your elbows, don't hyperextend. Inhale and lift your pelvis even higher. Softening the jaw, pressing the back of the head into the floor to really get that neck stretch, that neck strengthening. And release. All the way to the floor. Lengthen your legs out so there's nothing staying in your knees. And bending your legs. Once again, feeling your heels with your fingertips. Now you can do that again. Either one I taught with the prop or without. Or you can come up into Urdhva Dhanurasana or upward facing bow, okay? So that's pressing your palms under your shoulders, a little bit above them. Lifting your pelvis. Mm-hmm. Pressing the back of your head on the floor like I just taught you. And now coming up onto the top of your head by pressing your palms and lifting onto the top of your head. Now this is where you need to work your feet to make sure you're not splaying your toes apart. So you're gonna feel like you're pigeon-toed. I'd rather have you feel pigeon-toed than splay outward. That's not good for your knees. So now lift up into full upward facing dog. Upward facing bow. Working your shoulder blades onto your back body. Try to stay up for 5 breaths. Really pressing your palms into the floor. And coming down. You can't do it?
I was trying to figure out how to mush my head on the floor with my bun.
Oh, well then you don't have to. That's just a baby step. I mean, I don't do that. That's just if you need that. Okay, so let's not do it with that.
Okay.
I don't like that step, but it's good for beginners.
Yeah.
I never did it that way.
I was just wondering if I
But that's how beginners do it.
That way or not. It's been a minute.
You can just smash your bun. Okay, so just press your palms.
Yeah. It's been a minute since I've done a back bend.
Okay, well then go slow.
Maybe I do need to go on my head.
Yeah.
But then my bun gets in the way, so I can only go so far with my
We'll take your bun out.